Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
We're calling this meeting of the Parks Commission to order, January 2nd, 2025. And first order of business is our approval of December 2024 minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move approval.
Second. And Sam got the second, Sam DiMaggio. Any discussion on the minutes? Without any discussion or edits offered, those in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, our minutes are approved, and we have next public appearances for non-agenda items. We have one person here, Mayor Julia Aratafrata. Please go ahead.
Okay, hello everyone.
No time limit.
No time limit?
No.
You're going to give me 3 minutes? It's going to be short. So first of all, Happy New Year to everyone. Feliz año. So I am here because, I decided this year that I'm going to go through all the committee meeting at the beginning of the year, and you're the first one of the year. So one of the things that I want you as a committee to work with me is to determine what are your priorities for 2025. What are the priorities of this commission for 2025? I know this is when I ask to every commission. Some commissions are working and they already gave me some, plan for 2025. It doesn't have to be like robust or something, but what are you going to concentrate in 2025? Because that one is going to help me with, when I put together the budget, the CIP, when I put together the budget for next year, and also to determine, because I have my own priority too, and to see if they are aligned with my priorities. One of the things that I think is great that you should be analyzing and taking a look is that, Scott put together this table with all the projects that they are under construction or they are going to start. And this is a very good visual that I asked Scott to put together this for me because I am a visual person and as an accountant I need to have my table. So I can see which are the parks that there are a lot of projects, plenty of parks projects that they are under construction or in design phase. And I think what we need to determine is, what I would like to see is those parks that are under construction, they should be finalized, moving forward, you know what I mean? And we shouldn't be taking any new parks project until we complete what we have, to be honest. And the parks that we already have the funding. There are some parks, I'm going to be honest with you, the Terravesa Agricultural Park is a great idea, but there is enough money. So I don't think that we should be, no, I don't say investing time in something that we don't have the resources or the funding yet. So we need to look at which are the park projects that they have been, in the pipeline for many months of years, and they need to be finished in 2025. There were a lot of projects that are supposed to be done in the fall of 2024 that now they're moving forward to 2025. So, and I think that when we talk about time frame for this project, we need to understand that there is a staff capacity, funding, but also most of these projects that they are under construction, the funding is there. So the idea is how we move forward with this, and which one are the ones that we can in 2025, in December 25, we say, okay, all of these are done. So one of the projects that is, I would say that it should be a priority, the Southdale Park, because we promised those people to have a park, 2 years ago. So I think that one is a part that we need to determine how to move forward during this 2025. So, this, I look at this and I am very, we are investing a lot of money and resources to our park system. We have a very robust park system. And I love parks. And I think I am, it's great that we have all those projects on the table, and it's, but I think we need to start determine the one that they're coming for 23, that they have not been done, or 24, that they should be, okay, what is the process? But you are in charge of this commission, so this is what I say, I would like to see what are your priorities for 2025, if you can, discuss that, I will appreciate that. The other thing that I want to mention is that in the last month, I met with the Gochan Nation people. We are planning to bring forward an acknowledgement of land, but also in the discussion they say, okay, what else the city of Fitchburg is going to do that for us? You know what I mean? And I say, okay, we have a park that needs a name, and it's a hub. So I think something that maybe we need to, I invite them to provide some names for that park, because it's something that I think they already request me. So you, Scott, and Adam asked me, what is the name for the park? I think that I invite them to provide a couple of names for the park. They're going to come to you. You're going to have the final say, but I think that it's going to be a great, opportunity for us to, to recognize the land where we are doing this park. So this happened last month. Since I bring it forward this to you, so you are all on the same page. The other thing that is important is the Kid Crossing Park. We need to do the design in 25, because the idea is to have install this park in 26. The park is becoming a liability, and I think that one we have the funding for the park. So, and I think Scott put here in project for 25 the design, and then the idea is to have the Kid Crossing installation in 26. So that one is another park that is a community park. So people use a lot of parks. So so the funding is there. So so that one is something that is something that I care about a lot, about that park too. What else? That's it for me.
I have a question to clarify. Yes. You mentioned one area that doesn't have funding, so we should just be setting it aside. Was that the Ag Park? Is that the one you were referring to?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that we have enough funding for that.
Yeah, Mayor, I had a question.
Yeah.
Wasn't a component of Kids Crossing raising money?
No.
How did it go from?
No,
that was in there, and then also now?
No, because we approved it in the last CIP. I removed that. When we approved the CIP in July, do you remember we had the discussion? We changed the source funding because we need to fundraise almost $500,000. I don't know how we're going to do it. And this is a park that it really need to be repaired soon or replaced. The council, when approved the CIP in July, they approved the new funding.
I would disagree. For $250,000, we could refurbish that and replace the bad wood. I've spent a lot of time. I know it's voted on, but that's a, we should have raised some. We should have raised some money on that.
Yeah, but I did that when I did it. When we did the inclusive playground. We did a private and public funding, and it took almost 4 years to raise, what, $75,000, okay? We need to work with a not-for-profit, to raise a fund. We need to have an organized group. We don't have the Friends of the Park organization, to do that labor for us. So this is something that if we have but we already assigned, it's going to cost $1 million to build this park, and the idea is to use it more inclusive. It's not an inclusive playground right now. To do it inclusive, and this is what it costs, according to the latest estimate that we got this year. And we are going to use that to fund that.
Don't we have an inclusive park right next to it, Mayor?
Yes, but this is a bigger park, playground, and today, Dave, if you go today, because my kids play there, if you have kids that they have in wheelchair or with some walkers or some disability, they cannot access the structure because you have all this, the surface is not inducive to an inclusive, so people with any sort of physical disability can walk on that. And also to think about what other material we can do it, that is going to last more and is not like good, because we are receiving a couple of complaints of people getting, issue with some stuff there. And we did the audit. One is 2000. When did we do the last audit for that park? 2019, 2020?
When we did something.
The audit. We do an audit for all our park system, for all our playgrounds.
Oh, mercy. I don't recall when that was. An audit for them, you mean?
No, we did an audit for that park, that because you sent me that information to me this year. I don't know when it was done. A safety audit.
Yeah.
You remember? And there was some concern about...
There was, yeah.
It was time to replace it.
Yeah.
So, I understand, Dave. But we don't have an organization to take care of the fundraising. The city cannot do it. We cannot do it. You cannot do it as an alder.
I'm working on it,
but the funds are there. So, and I think for all the parks, it will be great to have a Friends of the Park, like we had a Friends of the Senior Center. But right now, we don't have it. And this is a park that really needs attention. So. That's it. Any other question, comment? Okay.
Hi, Mayor. I'm Heidi Reynolds. My concern with, I have no issue with making the parks inclusive. I mean, I think that's a great idea, but I feel like sometimes jumping in and making every park 100%, all the bells and whistles all at once, I feel like maybe that's where we get hooked up a little bit. And I'm wondering if maybe we couldn't do this in phases, certain areas that would have inclusive playground equipment or surfaces or whatever it is, and then, use the CIP to adjust those as time goes on.
I don't, that one I'm going to,
well,
I don't think that this is the funding are there, and I think the idea is to make all the parks inclusive no matter what. And
all of them?
I would say is the one that we can have access the money, and in the future, if we are building new parks, we need to look with that optics, that lens. And this is a community park, Heidi. This is our biggest community park, and this is the biggest playground in the city. So I think at least this one should have some, options and to build it more, inclusive.
And just a bit of additional info. The Kids Crossing was constructed in 2020, and it was a wood structure, and it's really getting to the 2000. I'm sorry. Yep, 2000, and it's getting to the point where it's you can't even. If you try to repair a board or whatever it might be, you can't even screw into, material. So it really is, and to the mayor's point, there was a safety audit that was done, and it was confirmed that it definitely needs to be replaced. And certainly, I think as we continue to renovate and redo the playground, certainly we want to make them consumer safety product standards along with. And really the accessibility is all the playgrounds are accessible in regards to they have transition locations for people with handicaps to transition onto the playground. The trouble is with the surfacing. That's where the inclusive playground is all poured in place surfacing. And, you know, I think that might be a way where we can, if there's a new playground coming in, the area in which the person with disabilities transitions onto the playground, we can provide a better access, a more accessible access poured in place to that transition spot as maybe a compromise. But certainly the kids crossing is kind of our jewel, and we really should make that all poured in place, accessible, and those kinds of things. So just a bit of additional information.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with that over time. My fear is just that when you know, we also have to be concerned with taxpayers' pocketbooks. And I mean, I feel like the parks that we have now are so fabulous, and most of them do have so many bells and whistles. My question, so you had said something about the transition. So are you talking in terms of, for instance, the ability to get a wheelchair from one area of the park to another, or am I looking at that the wrong way?
Well, actually, it's an access onto the playground itself, where a person could wheelchair up to this platform, if you would, and then they could transition themselves onto the playground physically. And then it's not the wheelchair itself; it's just access to the transition spot where the person could transition onto the playground structure. So
special grounding where somebody could maneuver their wheelchair to get closer to the equipment. That's what you're referring to?
Yes, you could have that area poured in place so it's easier for them instead of trying to wheelchair through wood chips. You have a poured in place surface that they can get to that transition, get off their wheelchair and transition onto the playground structure itself.
Yeah, and I think that's fabulous. I mean, I feel like such a Grinch, but you know, being somebody who is low income, I know that, you know, the cost of living in Dane County now is so difficult. And I want us to take into account everybody, you know, the people who are low income like myself and really can't afford more taxes, as well as the folks who do have disabilities and need to be able to get to those structures. And I want them to be able to get to those structures, but I just don't want us to jump in with both feet. I guess that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And also, we also need to think, Heidi, about the liability that the city can have in the future with, especially, you know, we are talking about children, so that one is my concern too, safety of the children in our parks. So I know, I understand.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I mean, kids are of the utmost importance, and they should always be at the forefront of everything we do. Again, I just, you know, I'm a very frugal person, and I just hope that we don't jump in this with both feet. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Anything else, anybody? Any questions, comments?
No. Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you
Bye.
for coming, Madam Mayor.
Well, is there a question, Chris? Oh, you know, I just can't. Go ahead.
I just want to make a comment. Mayor, thank you again for just highlighting your work in conversation with the Ho-Chunk. And my hope is that in 2025, we can use that as a model as we're thinking about our naming policy and process, that we're embedding that into that process more deeply. And I appreciate you highlighting that. The other thing I wanted to just highlight as well is, you know, we should really be looking at where there are opportunities as we look at decisions that we're making to engage the new equity committee, which I also sit on, as a way to be an extra lens. Again, Heidi, you bring up some good points around equity, around low income, and there's issues around accessibility for people with disabilities. Those are great questions that if we had another group like the equity committee to really look at and give us some other perspectives, can help guide us. And I just would hope that this group, this committee uses that committee as another resource, and we find opportunities to engage that group. And I'm happy to help make that connection. And I look forward to us embedding more work around uplifting really the Native and Indigenous population and history that we have within the park system and any way that we can. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay, we will now review and approve the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments on our agenda? All right. Those in favor of the agenda as written, say aye.
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 Okay, we'll stick with the agenda we've got then. Section 5A is Resolution R 230-24, Community Senior Center Upper Level Tables and Chairs Replacement. A motion to approve. Anybody?
I'll move approval.
Move to approve.
Okay, well, Alder Herbst motion and second Christopher Peguero. And any discussion after Scott gives us the intro?
Thank you, Sue. This is part of our CIP project 6354, which is going to be replacing the community center, senior center upper level tables and chairs. This was a state project, so we just did receive the one price, and it's not to exceed $58,000. And actually, the chairs and tables were last purchased in 2004, and certainly with the wear and tear on them, they're in need of replacement. So this is the resolution that's going to approve that authorize that purchase.
Any questions?
I think we got our money's worth.
Yeah.
Those tables.
Yeah. And for those of you who are participating remotely, I apologize. I'm not always seeing when you're requesting to speak, so just go ahead and get rolling if I'm not noticing that you'd like to add anything. Any questions or comments about the bid or the process? Time to vote? Okay, those in favor of R 230-24, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Nothing in our section 6 of our standard agenda. For 7A, I've been given an assignment by a citizen. I'm to read a citizen comment from Patrick Cheney regarding 7A, the park project updates. The comment is, why were the bid specs for projects, examples of Tower Hill McKee shelters, McGaw Pickleball, Southdale, not reviewed and approval sought by the Parks Commission before complete bid plans were released and posted? So that is for this area. And Scott, you're going to communicate with us now.
Regarding the park projects?
Well, I mean, whatever it is you would like to say about the agenda, the project updates themselves, and this is a question that was raised.
Well, and I do have one correction on the park projects 2025. I did remove the community gravel beds. That was moved from 2025 to 2026. So I did remove that. What we are doing is we have the Tower Hill shelter renovation, the McKee siding, and then the pickleball expansion that's currently out to bid, with the bids being due on January 10th. So we're working to get that referred out on January 28th, and then that'll come back to the Park Commission in February for approval in February for those projects, so we can get rocking and rolling on those. As the mayor alluded to, we do have some 2020 additional 2025 projects, which we're currently working on. The Chicory Meadow tennis court replacement, basketball court replacement. the open air shelter at the inclusive playground, and then also the Southdale project. But I'm kind of anticipating, similar to our last year's projects, we'll work in 2025 to get the documents put together, get the specifications put together for those projects, bid them in 2025, and then have them completed in 2026. Along with the Kids Crossing design and removal, we'll do that in 2025 with the hope of getting it constructed in 2026.
Okay. Heidi has a question. Heidi Reynolds?
Sorry, I was on mute. He answered my question, so I took my hand down. Thank you.
Okay.
I might mention, though, too, that we do have additional projects in 2025. We've got a couple playgrounds that need to be replaced at Rimrock and Chicory Meadow, along with the gazebo needs to be painted at Chicory Meadow, so we'll get those completed in 2025.
Okay. I have two questions about Chicory Meadow. That's the park near your house, right? Okay. There's looks like they were handmade a soccer goal or two that are wood that, I don't know how much use they get, but they're really, really worn down.
Okay.
And then the other question, Sam took me around there, is when they redo the tennis court, it looks like there's a hillside with water that has to be diverted around if it's going to be put back in. I'm just assuming that's something you take a look at the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. Those were my questions about that. And the community gravel bed, does everybody know what that is? I think it's really cool. It's like a raised structure with gravel in it that has water running through, and Anna can order bare root plants, trees and shrubs. Those go in spring, and by fall they've got fully developed roots, and you can do fall plantings.
Correct.
And you've saved a lot of money.
Exactly.
But it keeps getting put off, it seems. It's been a number of years, right?
Yeah, that was, the council moved it from 2025 to 2026. So.
Okay. We'll have to have a tree and shrub lobby show up. Make sure it stays in 2026 then.
There you go.
Okay. So that's your whole list there. And then for 7B, I have another assignment. Or no? Is that the one, 7B? No. Patrick has something he'd like to speak in support of in 7B.
This is listed as a communication item and not an action item, and if that's all it is and there's no more editing, then my comments will not be necessary, but this is a just-in-case comment. At the last meeting, there was a public hearing on this, and that was opened and then closed, and then in discussion, Michael Stevens' letter was read about taking out any reference to beer garden. What was disappointing to me was there was some discussion during the commission's discussion after the public hearing was over about maybe we should leave it in, leave some essentially loopholes, as I would call it, for a beer garden or alcohol similar events, or the whole controversy that some of you may not have been around for of leasing the McKee shelter in that case to a private enterprise, which was highly objectionable by the neighbors of McKee. So my comment here, just in case, is I fully agreed with Michael Stevens' letter for all the points that he made, and as far as I see, it has gone that way, and so that's good. So don't change it.
Yeah, well, and I think I added to some confusion in that area because Scott was trying to tell me some of those things were already out of the plan, and I didn't realize what he was trying to tell me last month during the meeting. So that is, you're confirming that what you see, that those things are not there.
Yeah, and I read through it, I had another comment right here. Using the example of McKee Park, and the neighbors around McKee Park were the predominant voice that said they didn't want this beer garden idea in that park. And what I would like to say is, even if there is not an explicit aim and emphasis in the Park and Open Space Plan, I think there should be some implied favoritism, call it, or support of the neighbors, the residents, the property owners right around any given park. Think of McKeon as an example right here, that the property owners and residents right around there are the ones who are going to use their local park the most, whether it is a community park or an area park or a neighborhood park. And even as Park Director Scott Endel has said in the past, each of these parks, even the community park, act as, okay, I'm paraphrasing, a community park is a community park when there's a large event going on. If there's smaller events, okay, then maybe it's like an area park. But when there's nothing going on, say like right now, it's open, but it's a neighborhood park because the people who live within the quarter-mile radius are the ones who are in there. It is their neighborhood park. They're the ones who are there, see it all the time, use it the most, day to day, and there should be an emphasis towards favoring the immediate neighbors around each park who are closest to it as far as what they see as best fitting that park for them. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have, go ahead, Scott.
Yep. Can we, are we on B, the Park
Yep.
and Open Space? Yep.
Yep.
So that was approved by the Common Council. I would mention, I did kind of mention this to Sue, that one potential future budget item, certainly with the CIP process beginning soon, within the Park and Open Space Plan, and a little bit alluded to what the mayor indicated as far as priorities. There's some priority actions identified in the Park and Open Space Plan, so I'm thinking that that's going to be part of our CIP discussion to begin to start to work on those immediate, high priority action items from the Park and Open Space Plan. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, that ties nicely with her comments at the beginning of the meeting.
Comprehensive park amenity, if I can move on to that
one.
Please
do.
What I did add is Anna began to start to give me some information regarding to the number of trees that are in our woodlots, and then also trees within the public right-of-way, along with park trees outside of woodlots. So we've got trees within the park right-of-way, we've got park trees, and then we've got woodlot trees. Another segment of trees that we have that we want to get inventoried are trees within the right-of-way outside of the urban service area. So that's another group of trees that we do have that we want to inventory. So I'm continuing to work on that. Eventually, we want to get some values on all of these replacements. And, and to Heidi's point too, it's kind of a case that the amenities within the park system have life expectancies, and we need to begin to start to think about, when they're going to be replaced. Just for example, playgrounds, we've got 44 of them, and if they last 25 years or 20 years, you're going to have to replace one or two every year, which is a budget item, along with, we've got bike paths also in here. We've got 38 miles of bike paths, and it costs about $130,000 per mile to replace. So if that, I don't know how likely they are to last 38 years, but that just begins to start to put a perspective on the amenities that we have out in the system. So I did want to give you a little bit of an update on that.
Okay, so any comments or questions?
Sue, I had something, actually, just to sort of bounce off of what Patrick had said in the previous, in 5B, or I'm sorry, 7B. I understand what he's trying to say, that the people that live around the park really are the ones that have to sort of live with what's going on in the park. But I think it behooves us to remember that taxpayers, whether you live on Anton Drive or Allied Drive or, whatever other street in Fitchburg, that is still your park. And so I'm not saying that we should just go hog wild and let everybody do what they want, but I'm not sure giving, first dibs or first doubts to any sort of idea for a park to the neighbors of that park. I'm not really sure that that's in the public interest. And that's just my opinion, and I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, thanks. Sam, you also wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, I think in conjunction with what the mayor was saying about priorities, I think that document you put together, the inventory document's a good way to say, here's where some of our maintenance priorities are. That she should at least be able to look at that and say, okay, these could be potential CIP projects, whether they're, park replacement or playground replacements or et cetera, right? Safety considerations. So it's more than just age, right? There's other issues that need to be evaluated in that inventory document. I think it's important that we figure out a way to prioritize that and then present that, keep that as a living document that we can all discuss as a park commission to say, here are our parks, here's what we're doing, here's which ones are the priorities that need to be dealt with, and even address jurisdictional issues. Like sometimes I've walked over there and I'm like, who the hell owns this parcel? Who's responsible for it? Sometimes it's not us. Like you go down the Southwest Corridor, that's a hodgepodge. The city of Madison owns part of that. We own part of that. Dane County owns part of that. And even the Capital City Trail, the part that's in Seminole Hills, we own, but not all of the Capital City Trail. So understanding that and making sure the mayor understands, there's limits to what we can do and, what jurisdiction has to take over or how we have to coordinate with those other jurisdictions to actually work on some of these areas. That stuff's all really important. I think that if we're going to, name priorities for the mayor, that's a document we can use to do that.
Well, and I think certainly the CIP projects, that's kind of the park commissions, that's kind of our priority list of what we're working on. Included at 6259, which is the park improvement dollars for replacing this. And so I think we do a pretty good job of kind of identifying those priorities and working through them.
Well, I suggested it last time that even the park commission could pick a set of parks that we could go to, like we did with Chicory this last time, that some of the park commission members saw some of the other issues in addition to just the age issues, right? Although there are some of those in there as well. But I don't think it's a bad idea for us as a commission to go look at some of these parks and make some decisions about, what else could we do there? Are there missing things that should be in a park that aren't included in this asset list? So, I think those are all relevant items that we should include in some sort of priority list that the mayor would look at.
Well, and I think, not to keep going on and on and on, but the woodlots that we have, right? The idea of creating a CIP to manage those woodlots and put dollars aside to begin to start to work on them. And there was a resolution that was referred before the end of the year for the woodlot at McGaw, along with creating a kind of a policy on what we're going to do in regards to woodlots. So I think we can kind of put it all together and kind of provide some thoughts from the Park Commission on what your priorities are and what we'd like to see done. So I think it's really good. Yeah.
Thanks for starting it. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I think, piggybacking on Sam's comment, we have so many miles of trails, so many parks that we create a schedule, replacement schedule, and we get that out there, and then, I think we have to have it out there, and the city council may say, no, we have other pet projects we want to do, but I think it behooves us to get that out there and force their hand. We have to maintain what we have before we add new things. I think we have to have a sound maintenance plan.
It certainly is a tough needle to thread. We've got these developments and we receive park improvement dollars, and they're wanting their park also. So it's, here we sit, we're struggling to maintain the existing ones, and I guess I feel we've got to build the other ones because they're, we're receiving dollars to build them.
Do we have to, though? I mean, according to the land division ordinance or whatever, you could say, hey, that park is maybe not necessary or, again, not suitable, and then move money into that, whatever that fund is, or whatever that we use to create CIP projects, right?
Well,
so do we need to make another park like, I'll just pull Terra Vesta because the mayor kind of mentioned it.
Yeah.
What if we didn't build that park and we took the money, developer dollars, and moved it into a, this non-recurring fund that then could then deal with some of the other CIP projects we want to do? Well,
there are some different rules that go into that. We can't really be moving stuff around. And like I say, it's Alder Herbst is beginning to start to talk about the Friends of the Fitchburg Parks. I think that really is the vehicle that we need to look at to provide, some funding, and some base funding that can be, because I know, but I'm not right.
I'm talking about something that does exist, right?
Well, there's rules and there's stipulations to the dollars that we collect from the developer that we can't just use them wherever,
I get that, but it sounds like there is some, based on what I read in that document, it sounds like there is some leeway that we could say, hey, wait a minute, we're going to use these dollars in a different way. Just like we said, hey, we've got plenty of parks out there. We don't really need to build, people are within a half a mile of all these parks.
And I think, Sam, you're on to something there. I think that's a case of we divide the community into different regions, if you would, and then kind of determine what is the best, where do we need the most, do we need more parkland, do we need more money, so I think the idea of kind of, well, I think there might be a different region that we wouldn't need additional parkland, that we currently have parkland within that region. We could be better served with the dollars being utilized to allocate to improve and maintain those parks.
That's exactly what my point is.
And that's actually one of the action items within the Park and Open Space Plan update, to begin to start to take a look at different strategies on how to fund things, how to.
Who owns that?
Pardon me?
Who owns that project? Who owns that responsibility?
That's the Park Commission.
That's us, right?
Yep.
So I guess I was coming back to that. It's like, hey,
yep.
As a group, can't we just start looking at the ones that we have out
Absolutely.
there and decide, hey, we don't really need another new park that's close to this other park.
Right.
We can take those dollars and move them into this other fund that we can then use to build CIP projects to deal with the governor's or the mayor's issues.
Right, exactly.
Well, and I mean, depending on what the ordinances are, we would need to look at that. But I believe the ordinances don't say exactly what needs to be done. And I think if the agreement is made in advance with the developer and the city in terms of how those park dedication dollars would be spent, I think that is something that could be done, in lieu of putting a park in this development. The funds will be used to maintain such and such park, which is half a mile away. So, I mean, I think, that's where the lawyers need to get involved and figure out exactly what the ordinances say. But it sounds like that's something that needs to be agreed upon in advance. And it sounds like it's an easy enough fix. And the other thing I wanted to say, Scott, I just wanted to sort of circle back because you kind of made my point, with, like you said, I mean, maintaining what we've got is quite expensive. And I think it's important, in my mind, it's probably more important to maintain what we have or even upgrade what we have as opposed to, building from scratch and starting out with all the bells and whistles. So if we've got a park that we want to improve or is in need of new equipment, that's maybe where we look at doing the inclusivity in a park like that, where it's going to cost us less, but little by little, we're making headway in making sure that the majority of our parks are inclusive.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, not to drag us any further into the weeds on than what we already are, but it relates to this. We also maybe can and should broaden our definition of what a park is. Maybe not every park needs to be mowed bluegrass turf and post and platform playground. But that would also relate to our park and open space space plan of reducing maintenance needs and increasing, native species and habitat areas. A park, kids can play in the woods and, find their own things to do. They can crawl on rocks and crawl on stumps. And hell, we even fabricate artificial versions of playgrounds like that now, so I think broadening what we consider to be valuable park space and what that looks like. And then that can pay dividends when it comes to constructing and maintaining it down the road.
Right. And traditionally, at least while I've been on the Parks Commission, a lot of what the concept of what the park is already decided between the planning department and the developer and staff. By the time it has gotten to us, we're sort of, I don't want to say we're told, but it's been laid out per the way the ordinances and funding are currently interpreted. So if one of our tasks is to revisit all of that, that's great, because we can look at alternatives to what we're doing right now, and maybe that works better maintenance-wise or land use-wise in some cases. At the same time, I'm sure a lot of developers, depending on how many residences, they're going to want to have some type of playground. But if we've laid out the case for, within a quarter mile, there's an area park, we can make if we can make the case, we can make the case.
Exercise.
Yeah. Okay, so we are on this staff reports A8, and I have a comment to read from Patrick Cheney. He said, it would be useful to include past years of 2019 and maybe 2018 as normal pre-COVID 2020 years to show if years post-COVID have rebounded to normal expected. Is that regarding participation in income to, the income of the various rec department programs?
I can do that. No?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so Scott, do you have comments you would like to add from here on out?
Well, Chad, he's been out of the office in December here on vacation, so I kind of took it upon myself to do a little bit of a rec report, and I did include, kind of since 2020, the dollars that have been collected through rec programming, community center rentals, and shelter athletic field rentals, just as a bit of information. And certainly I could go back 2019, 2018, 2017 just to find out what those numbers were. I also wanted to report that we had 49 applicants for the rec supervisor position. And HR has helped us screen it down to 9. So we'll be doing interviews on January 8th. We'll offer interviews to 9 candidates. We'll see how many of them will accept the interview. And then certainly today is the first day of shelter reservations for 2025. And we've got, 20 or 20 plus annual events at McKee. And Chad's busy getting those permits put together and all of those kinds of things. So I just wanted to provide that as a bit of a recreation report for you.
Any other questions on any of the department reports? I don't have any. So future agenda items, is that where we are? Yeah, future agenda items. Well, we talked about the fact that we'll have to start looking at the priorities in the Parks and Open Space Plan.
Right, that'll be part of the CIP, but certainly you're going to have the Tower Hill McKee siding and the pickleball courts before you in February.
Oh, okay.
We'll get
all right. And our announcements, we have February 6th and March 6th for our next 2 meetings. Is there an update, Alder Herbst, on Friends of Parks?
No, not really. I'm
Well, I
hoping
know
to
you
have the
did.
paperwork.
You did some of the paperwork.
I should have the paperwork. My goal is by the end of the month to have
All right.
everything in place.
Yeah. It's not static. Let's put it that way.
No, I've been procrastinating, but
It's not dynamic, but it's not static. We're getting there.
And please reach out if you need help, Dave.
Thank you, Heidi.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, could I
Yeah,
just one
please.
addition? The we obviously heard from the mayor, you know, that one of her priorities is Southdale Park, because they made a promise. Now, I feel Scott has laid out a realistic plan based on construction schedules and bidding to get it done effectively. She would like it all done this year. Well, we put it out for bid, we're going to short term. The point I'd like to make is we have a park there. We have a park and it's being used. It's not like there's no park there now. We have certainly upgrades we want to make in it, but I think we stay the course. Try to accelerate anything on that, I feel it's just going to cost us more money. You know, we'll maintain the park best we can. It looks like we're trying to do a good job on that. And if there are some things, like if we get the friends going and we want to start cutting some of the brush up in the area, there's some things we can be working on. But I would encourage you, you'll get pressure that she would like it done sooner. And so Alder Allen will give you the same pressure. And I would say stay the course on it, Scott.
Well, in reality, and it kind of came to fruition with Tower Hill, McKee, and the pickleball courts, that it takes a while to get everything approved and through the process, and so we really got to kind of plan and design it with our capacity, right? We just don't have the capacity to move it any quicker than that, and you want to hit the good time for biddings and things like that. So that's really kind of and we'll have doing Stoner Prairie, we're doing, you know, a lot, the hub, we're doing a lot of projects this year, and then we'll tee other projects up for next year, and so there'll be some work done, that's for sure.
Well, I'd recommend, you know, you'll be going out for bids on the shelter and the water feature and things like that, that you kind of get that plan and we post it down there with a rough schedule. So people know what's coming. You know, they're not, well, it's nebulous, it's never going to happen, because we see plenty of those things. But we have a kiosk down there, and I ask you to, once you got that, I think you have some, maybe you could post right now even, but roughly with the schedule, you know, and I think that alleviates, you know, everyone wants it sooner, but I think, again, stay the course on it.
Well, and a big takeaway for me, which I didn't realize, but that if you put something out for bid now for this year, you're going to pay more than if you put it out for bid in fall for the following year.
So there's reviews, and the engineering department is tapped out, if you would, and it just doesn't.
It can't. Yeah.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It would be different if there was no park at all. The people had no recreation.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. They got.
That's what I agree, Sam. You know, we want to do upgrades, but it's very functional the way it is. People are using it.
Yeah. Okay. Motion to adjourn? Oh, that's
A motion.
Sam got the motion and Heidi has the second. Those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you. It is 6:52.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under no worries.